Good morning. My name is Sidharth Mahapatra, and I am delighted to have been invited by Rosalind Franklin University to speak at your annual Synapses event. I am currently an intensivist in the Division of Critical Care and an assistant professor in the Department of Pediatrics and Biochemistry. So clinically, I work in the ICU for 50% of my time, and the other 50% of my time I engage in the discovery of novel treatment mechanisms to impact the survivorship of pediatric patients with brain tumors. To that end, I have a lab in the Department of Biochemistry at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. These dual opportunities that I'm able to avail of are a direct result of the tremendous educational opportunities that I was afforded at Rosalind Franklin University. I'm so happy that I was asked to talk about my form of catharsis, having been in a field over the last 5 years wherein I've faced many challenging situations. These situations each have impacted me in unique ways, and each of them have engendered a multitude of often opposing emotions within, which are difficult to talk about. In general, I would consider myself an introvert, and therefore it's hard for me to open up and share with even my nearest and dearest. It's not that I don't trust them, it's that I don't necessarily trust myself in expressing myself to the fullest degree that I need to in order to make peace with certain situations. So when I began, it was under difficult circumstances, those in which I was faced with challenges I've never seen before, wherein I was asked to make decisions that I've never made before, and I was in the midst of struggling with the different adversities that I saw in front of me. This is where the story of Sammy becomes instrumental in shaping the person that I am today. I met Sammy as a first-year resident, as an intern in pediatrics. He was a 3-year-old boy who was very different from most 3-year-old boys that you think of. You know, when you have a child's image in your head, you think about free spirit, happy-go-lucky, interested simply in playing outdoors and making friends and enjoying life to the fullest. Sammy was very different. He was born with a rare disorder that left him pretty neurologically devastated. He wasn't able to run like other boys or even express himself like other boys. He was bedridden, and he couldn't breathe on his own. He needed the help of a ventilator, which is a breathing machine that was connected to a tracheostomy tube. He lived in medical home. His mother and father visited him regularly. When he entered the intensive care unit, he had suffered a heart attack, which was probably precipitated by a viral infection that had caused his tracheostomy tube to plug with secretions. When I first laid eyes on him, I was asking myself a simple yet difficult question. I asked myself, what quality of life did Sammy really have? And what quality of life does he have now? How can I impact his family in a positive way when they're faced with such negative circumstances? What was in my power to do as an intern? Could I save his life? Should I save his life? How do I address the mom's questions? I was torn asunder every day with these questions. I didn't know who to speak to. I was confused, and I didn't have any answers. But the one thing that I knew in my heart was that I had to do whatever I could to simply be there for that family, to help them walk this very difficult situation in their life. Despite our efforts over the next several days, Sammy's physical condition declined to a point wherein he was very close to the end. It was at that moment where the mom and dad made a very difficult decision, but one that I respect. They decided to honor his life by allowing nature to take its natural course and by disconnecting him from life-sustaining measures. Once again, turmoil of emotions within. Was this appropriate? Was this correct? Was this in his best interest? Was it what he would have wanted? I, again, had no answers. You can imagine the turmoil within. But I respected their wishes. And I decided that I wanted to be there to help them through making the most difficult decision of their life. I remember the father asking me if this was the first time I would be doing something of this caliber and of this importance, this much importance. And I told him this was the first time and it would be my honor to be there with them. The last few moments when I thought about Sammy was when I was trying to listen to his heartbeat after life had already left him. I remember holding my breath so that my own heartbeat wouldn't confound my exam. I had to be 100% correct because this was going to be a life-altering event for the family. You know, little did I know that that moment would be life-altering for me too. Because oddly enough, after having gone through that experience, I wanted to continue to grow in that capacity and to be better for the other families that I would be serving in the same capacity. Even though I felt like I had done nothing to help Sammy, to help him get better, to help him improve, I still left with a sense of satisfaction after the mom hugged me and thanked me for being there. I remember my senior resident telling me, you need to take some time off. You need to process what just happened. This is the first time you've lost a patient. And I remember responding and saying defensively, I didn't need time off. I just needed to work. And that was me trying to protect myself. That was me trying to not face the inner turmoil. When I returned home that night, in my apartment all alone, I had to face my feelings. I had to respond in one way, shape, or form in order to achieve peace. And that's when I took my pen to paper and continued to simply write. I allowed my emotions to unravel themselves on that medium. And after having done so, without correcting a single word, I looked over it. I sat back and I felt a sense of peace that I didn't feel before in the last several days of having taken care of Sammy. And that's when I realized that I'm going to be faced with this situation and many other such unique and difficult situations throughout my career in the intensive care unit, and that I had to have a way to reconcile the different emotions within me and to be able to come out at peace. I've written over 30 such pieces since that first year of residency wherein I lost Sammy. And as I began to write more, I began to share them with my innermost circle, my friends and my family, because I wanted them to speak to them about the emotions that a normal person goes through as they transition from a student to a physician. I wanted them to really know what I felt, and I wanted the rawness of my experience to show them how human we really are, and that we too make mistakes, and that we too need help. Later on, I realized that these pieces might be of help to other students and other learners that go through such situations for the first time. I have to say that moment with Sammy was really transformational, because I then began to write pretty regularly. Whenever I felt the need for catharsis, I would revert to the written word. I feel so fortunate that Rosalind Franklin decided to publish this piece amongst a few others, and fortunate still that they asked me to talk about it because it's very personal, But it's also very liberating to share this with you and to share that peace with you, to share the experience, to share the vulnerability, to share the fragility of the situation, and to share the outcome. I hope through all the creative media that are in this medium that is being distributed, I hope you find a message that speaks to you, and I hope you take from it whatever you need to help you traverse the different challenges that you may be facing. I don't think these pieces are meant simply for physicians or those in the healthcare profession. Emotions like sorrow, despair, happiness, peace, all of them are available to all of us. And I hope that these art forms speak to you and give you some form of catharsis like they did to me. In closing, I would like to thank Rosalind Franklin again for the formative education they gave me and for these continuing chances to contribute that they have provided me. I hope I can continue to contribute over the next several years and to be a part of your family as you made me a part of yours in the earliest years of my training. Thank you.